Hi everyone, Sponge here. Welcome to the part B of how to learn words as a translator and interpreter. This video is a demonstration of how to leverage the tips we mentioned in part A. So if you haven't watched it, check that out first. Now, let's begin. I'm using the word criticism as the example. First, let's look it up in a corpus-based dictionary. Here I'm using the English corpora. Let's enter criticism and click Find Matching Strings. Click criticism in the upper corner and we will see a page like this. Now here are the definitions, synonyms, and the most important sections, clusters and collocations, which are the verbs, ADJs that collocate most frequently with criticism. Click more, we could see the frequencies of each collocation. As we can see, the most frequent adjectives that go with criticism are constructive, literary, harsh, textual, heavy, and so forth. However, as we mentioned in part A, be selective and only record the ones you don't know and you believe is useful. For example, textual criticism means 文本批评. If this is not a collocation frequent for you, feel free to skip it. Here, for example, we could record constructive, harsh, and sharp for adjectives, and level, attract, and direct for verbs. The grid blocks before or after the word indicate whether the word occurs primarily before or after the collocate. The darker the color is, the more frequently the note word occurs on the side of the collocate. For example, we see the grid block is before level, which means the word we search, criticism, is usually before the level, a passive voice. We can move on to the clusters section and do the same. In this page, we could see the most frequently used phrases. Again, choose as you like. For instance, we can add target of criticism in our notebook. And finally, we'll get something like this. And next, we're going to find some good sentences from authentic B language tests that exemplify the patterns we want to simulate. Study the meaning of these patterns in context, look for useful frames into which we can easily slot words to make useful sentences, and record them in our notebook. For example, we want to search a context for target of criticism. So, we type in target of criticism, then we use the cite modifier to limit our context to reliable sources only, like the UN. Now, we could see many contexts containing target of criticism. Click one open and see how the cluster works. Here we have, at times, you have been the target of criticism. I want you to know that the United Nations stands by your side in this search for justice and accountability. Then, we have a pattern. A has been the target of criticism, but B stands by A's side. Memorize these patterns if needed, and try filling in different words to make your own sentences. Regularly review your notebook and try to use these frames to translate sentences from your own A language. And in the process, you can also try to identify some elegant and idiomatic A language versions where possible. For example, in Chinese, become a target of criticism could be rendered as 众矢之的. So having identified and recorded these useful patterns and frames, you'll end up having something like this. Of course, you need to have a conscious effort to use them repeatedly. For example, when making presentations and when practicing interpreting into a B language. So in sum, building and maintaining productive lexical resources in a B language is an ongoing process that requires a systematic effort. It's most effective when it's relevant, recyclable, and greater attention is paid to larger prefabricated units such as collocations and frames, and when these lexical items are actively recycled. Okay, so much for part B. I hope you've had a clear picture of how to learn new words as a translator and interpreter. Please like and leave your questions and comments like always. I'll see you in future videos.